Hey everyone, real quick disclaimer before this review begins. All thoughts are my own and my original thoughts. I was sent these paddles for potential with a review, not necessarily with a review being guaranteed, more to try them out, share my thoughts, and share my opinions and feels on how they play and how they perform in today's current pickleball market. With that being said, I do want to emphasize that I will remain unbiased and share my own opinions and thoughts on the paddles and those alone. At times, I might compare my opinions, maybe to those of other reviewers. Say if a video or a paddle has already been launched and it's a review after launch. But if it's a review before or of the day of launch of a paddle, those thoughts will be my own and my own alone. All right. Finally, I am not being paid to do this review. Typically, I will have either an affiliate's code, a discount code, or an affiliate's link, usually in the description of these videos or in the comments or in the bio somewhere on the video. Regardless, I will also try and share these in the beginning of each video. With that being said, I hope you enjoy this and enjoy the video. So before I begin, I'm sure many of you are asking, who is Slayer Pickleball? So Slayer Pickleball was started by a former tennis player and gamer turned pickleball fanatic through the love of pickleball. Thus, Slayer Pickleball was born. I was also told some fun facts, like their favorite video game was Halo to play back in the day, which, I was a PlayStation kid growing up, but I enjoyed Xbox as well and definitely thought that Halo was a fun game. So I figured I'd share that one in there. With that being said, I do think it's interesting that we're getting a lot of kind of new brands like this coming up now with, kind of that tennis slash gamer background, which is very similar to a lot of, I feel like, people's backgrounds in the pickleball space. Continuing on, Slayer Pickleball is currently trying to create and lead and innovate in the pickleball market. And these are two of their kind of newer models that are on the market right now that I'm actually really looking forward to chatting with you guys about because I think these are two pretty awesome paddles. And I think as we dive into the specs and a little bit about how they play and how they feel, they might interest and appeal to a wide variety of people watching this. All right, without further ado, let's begin. All right, let's now talk about the specs of the Octane EXP1. So this is a hybrid shape 14 millimeter paddle. Some of the specs for this one are a swing weight of 113, a twist weight of 5.79. I actually got closer to kind of what they gave me for twist weight. I got about a 6 for me on my graffiti for twist weight. So that's what my model was. And this was about 111 for me on swing weight. So a little bit different than their numbers, but nothing crazy. And then the average stock weight they say is about 8 ounces. I'd say that's about right. Mine came in at 7.9. I ended up adding 6 inches of lead on the bottom corners going into the face on both sides. I pondered doing a little bit on the top, but I opted against it. I did have some edge guard protection tape on the top for a bit as well and was running it like that. And I did end up taking off the stock undergrip and I did 2 U-dripping overgrips as the handle. And I really enjoyed this battle. I would say that it's a similar layup to the one I just mentioned before this, the Oddball, in that it is a polypropylene honeycomb core and it has foam walls. And it's the same material of the blue 3K carbon fiber Kevlar combo and the textured surface. Um, so let's dive a little bit more into it. So it's also kind of in terms of specs, before I leave specs, is it's also a 5.9 inch handle, which is, it makes it really whippy. Really can whip through those, kind of punch balls and those flicks per se. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed the kind of 5.9 inch handle on this one. But yeah, and so I did not get the same paddle length as they did when measuring this. I got this in at about 16.3. As you can see there, it's a little shorter than the oddball in terms of paddle length. And then paddle width, I'd say it's also the same 7.5 inches wide. So with that out of the way, let's talk a little about the Octane. So a little bit about the Octane EXP1. This was actually my preferred of the two when playtesting both of these paddles. I would say that this is an all-court leaning control 14 millimeter hybrid paddle. Slayer said when I messaged them about this, they said that they categorize this as a control 14 millimeter paddle, which I thought was really interesting because I was trying to think back to how many control 14 millimeter paddles there are out there. And there really aren't that many, especially not in the hybrid shape. So I thought that was really unique and a fun, innovative way to kind of, categorize and talk about this paddle. I would say it's definitely leaning control. I think it's still a little bit too powerful for control. I still have low all court, high control in terms of power, but I'm sure some would say that it's a control paddle in today's meta, just with how hot and how heavy hitting some of the paddles can be. So that's where I categorize it at least. Maybe if I rip all my lead off and I hit it only stock and solely stock, then yeah, it might be a high control paddle. I did hit these stock to start, but I did find that adding lead, in particular to that bottom throat area, really opened them both up and allowed for a larger
So
sweet
who is
spot.
this paddle for? People might ask. Or, it's a question I often get.
I would say that this paddle is for someone who wants a long 5.9-inch handle, almost 6-inch handle, someone who really loves like a traditional to somewhat non-traditional hybrid shape, being that it has have a more of like an elongated paddle type of handle, someone that really likes the Kevlar and the 3K carbon fiber weave, and someone that really likes that kind of old school leaning into new school 14 millimeter paddle feel. So they like it maybe a touch on the stiffer side and that 14 millimeter pop for sure. So I actually have a doubles partner right now currently that I think would play great with a paddle similar to this, maybe just at a different millimeter. But I know it fits a lot of what he's looking for usually in a paddle. So, I think if you're someone that, isn't afraid to toss a little lead or tungsten tape on there as well to kind of really get the full benefits of this paddle by adding to it, I think those are all things in areas that I would recommend at this paddle. And then finally, in terms of price point, I think it's pretty middle of the road. After the discount code, it puts it in a much better spot than it starts out at MSRP. So I do think that this paddle could be used for the masses, but it's really a little bit on the nicher side with it being kind of a 14 millimeter all court leaning control slash high end control paddle. But I do think this paddle will fit a lot of people's games and definitely be a popular one. So definitely be sure to check it out. All right. I know this was on the quicker side for reviews, but that's all I have for you guys today. Definitely enjoy. Give these a demo if you can demo them. If not, try and demo a similar Gen 2 paddle to them, and I think you'll get an idea for the feel of them if you're someone that's interested in buying or looking to buy on the market for these. As always, definitely check the websites, check my big discount code list. I put it in every video for sure. Get the best deal you can get and keep on pickling.